you look gorgeous tonight, by the way.
How are you?
Good, I'm Melita from Maze Magazine.
Hello, lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too. So this film features a lot of complex characters. They're far from one-dimensional. How did you work with the director, Athina, to really bring these characters to life? Did you do workshops, like improvisation?
Well, I've worked with Athina before, so I trusted her from many years back. We did a TV show called Trigonometry together. And she sent me the book like 3 years before we started making it. So I knew in the book that they were going to cut all my hair off. So I knew that was going to happen. But we had the most amazing 2 weeks rehearsal up in Scotland, in Oban, in this town hall, where everyone brought their dogs and kids and sheep like to these lands. But Holly Blakey, who is choreographer, she's here somewhere. She is the most amazing dancer who actually not only worked with dance but worked with how to open up your body and express yourself and to get to know each other as like a group of people. Obviously my character is very separate from everyone else, so we were also talking in different languages about how to move and how to bring things about Brazil involved, because that's where I'm from. So it made it really real, I think.
Wow, and speaking of the landscape, it's very scenic, very open, it invites a lot of freedom, but then you have the villagers who are quite wild and sometimes a bit violent. That contrast in the peacefulness and the violence, what kind of emotion do you hope that evokes in the audience? What kind of response do you want?
That's a really nice question. I think the UK has this rosy tinted lens sometimes on its landscape, and I loved the countryside, I loved Oban, I loved being up in Scotland, but it can be quite deceptive about how violent the people can be, and how violent, not only the people, but how violent people have to become to defend themselves. And I think everyone in the film are coming from a perspective of fear and a perspective of being the underdog and having to prove themselves that they've got some strength to overcome greater forces like Frank Delane. But I think I think it's beautifully contrasted with nature and then human, and how those things can live side by side. I think I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's something that I really loved about the film as well.
I mean, humans are part of nature, but sometimes they go so against nature. It's like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And finally, what do you think this film says about power imbalance in modern society? Because this film has an unspecified location, unspecified time, but it kind of relates to now in some ways.
Yeah, it does absolutely relate to now. I think that unfortunately we didn't have to do that much research about what we were going to be talking about, because I think the idea of displacement and the idea of people on the move, of land being taken from under your feet or having to move to a different land because of violence or danger is absolutely the most present at the moment. And I think Athina manages to tell it in a form that's quite folkloric. When is it going to stop? When is that cycle of violence going to end? I don't want to give too much about the film, but at the end, we don't know where the villagers are going to go, and are they going to be treated in a similar way to how my character was treated. So it's this cycle of how do we overcome the fear of the unknown person or the unknown people.
How do we become equal? Yeah. Why is always a power imbalance? Yeah, well, thank you so much. You look gorgeous tonight. Have a great night. Thank you.